Hello there guys, and welcome back to another 852 tutorial. And today in this episode here, what we're going to do is we're probably just going to continue working our way around the front here. I was going to go around and add a little bit of detail all the way around, but I thought might as well just keep going with the front. So we'll probably start the actual grill, the actual mesh that goes inside here, and we could then, if we have time, probably move on to kind of the surround or the windscreen here. And I think I might just work my way down the actual car, so we can think about maybe the door handle, have a look at the side skirts, rear window trim, and then onto the rear end. A few changes to our diffuser as well as we go. So that should be fine. So let's continue working at the front. I think I've had a look at some reference images in between. I've duplicated as well, by the way, all the stuff from what we was working on in the previous episode. It looks like maybe here. I'm just going to try and get a bit more curvature here. So I'm grabbing both of those sections that we worked on last week, and just want it to be a bit more curved. Something like that. And these here, I'm just going to maybe drop those just ever so slightly. Because again, when I was looking in between, I'm still not sure if that kind of has enough of a scoop to it, but I think that's looking okay. Okay, that's looking okay. It looks like down here as well, with this portion, at least on the bottom, it looks like this, we want to actually come in this direction a little bit. So something a bit more like that. What we could maybe do is we made the edge for this before. So let's grab this vertices here. Let's select our edge. And maybe just move this along a little bit here. Something like that, because it does look like this kind of goes to a point, just like we have with our main bumper portion here. And obviously like it does below as well. And let's grab these. Oops. Oh, take that out. I'm just going to grab the lower one first, hold down V, we'll snap there, and then we'll do the same here. And I'm going to grab the top vertices and do the same, holding down V, and then we'll pull that up. Hold down V, and I'll pull that up too. And then I'm just going to make sure that I've got the same thickness on there, something like that. So we can see that's coming out to a point now, which is a little bit better. So let's continue then. Let's make our grill. So this might take a little bit of time. It might be nice and quick. Let's start with a plane. So I'm just going to bring in a plane here and move it so we can see it. We can see on here that we've got quite a good layout for the mesh, which is good, so we can kind of see where it's all going to sit, which is fine. Let's though just make a few changes here. We're going to want to make our honeycomb, and it's a little bit of an awkward honeycomb. It's not like ones that we'll have made on the channel in the past, which are actual honeycomb shape. The mesh here is kind of like offset rectangles inside, which is a little bit awkward obviously when we're working on a uniform geometry like we have here. So what we could do is, let's think about how we could do this. There's a few ways we could. Let's go for a slightly easier way. Let's select this edge and then we'll leave one, select the next edge, leave one, and so on. So we'll grab like every second edge there, and then let's grab the opposites on the next line, and we'll kind of do that the whole way here. It's a bit awkward, hopefully you guys can see. We're just going to aim to make that shape first, and then we can extrude everything afterwards. So it looks like I've got all of those selected. So I've selected this one here, skipped one, selected, skipped, selected, and then underneath I've done it the opposite. So I've left one, skipped one, left one, so I'm going to hold down Control and hit Delete. And we can see now that that's gave us that shape that we have in there. Let's not worry too much. We can see inside here that we have obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edges to each of these shapes, but we're not going to worry too much about that. We could have done it with and selected faces intermittently, but we want to extrude without keeping faces together, so that would have made it a bit awkward for us, so we can get rid of those. We also want to delete any of these kind of half shapes. So on all of these here, we can delete those. So we see now it's left us with almost like a brick wall. Now what we can do is let's actually align this up. So I'm going to rotate this around 90 degrees. We can see on my blueprints here that I have this lined up. Well, we actually have the pattern on here. So let's just scale it down. So we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have actually 4 banks there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 there as well. So we have here, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's ditch all of those and all of those. So you see here that I've got my 4 rows inside, so it's just going to help us position a bit better. I'm also just going to make sure that my pivot is centered on there. Let's now have a go at pulling this into the right spot. Now of course we can scale in sideways, because it doesn't matter if we're uniform here. That's looking okay, and let's scale it down top ways. Maybe let's actually keep 1 extra either side, so rather than going down to 4, let's actually go down to 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, just so we can overlap should we need to. So again, let's take this down. Let's go. Let's pop that on here. So I'm going to match with this edge here. Let's go in sideways first. Now again, the blueprint is a little bit pixelated, so we're just going to try and get the best that we can. Inside, let's move up here. It just looks like we need a little bit more height. Something like that's not looking too bad, maybe a little less. Okay, so that's looking okay. So now we can see that we've got roughly the right area there. Let's now, before we start extruding or anything, let's actually create a size that we would actually need. So I'm just going to duplicate this here. And we know that because we deleted those portions, we're going to actually have to add more to it. So let's bring these in next to each other here. I'm just going to select them both, combine, and then we should hopefully, let's just get rid of these extra vertices on the top. Let's see. Let's grab all of those intersection sections there, and let's hit edit mesh and merge so we can bring all those together. And then we'll do the same with these ones here too. I'm just going to hit G to redo that. So let's get rid of these extra ones too. And then, oops, we'll ditch those ones as well. Okay, so we've got a little bit of that looking good. Let's do the exact same again. I'm just going to hit Control D. Let's bring it on in this direction here and line it up. And do the same again. Select them both. Hit Combine. And then we just want to merge all of these again. So we're going to edit mesh and merge, and then do the same here. So we're looking okay on that one side there. So let's just hit Control D again. Let's take that across over here. Okay, and then exactly the same. Let's combine those. We can merge there, and I think that was the other side. Here it goes. Merge those two. Okay. If we take this in now, we can see that we should just about be okay. A little bit off at the bottom, at the top, so we can just pull that up a little bit. Obviously the blueprint's not perfect. Just pull that up there, so that's looking fine. What we're going to want to do with this as well is we want to make sure that it's fine down here too, which it is. That's okay. So before we move on, let's just get rid of any face that we don't strictly need. Let's get rid of those. And all these lower ones as well. Just complete those. What I want to do with this is let's get a pivot in the center, which it is. Snap that to the middle. I'm just going to hit Control D on this. And I'm just going to move it out to one side here. Just to make sure that we've got a spare. If I end up messing up, we can bring it back in, but also we can bring it down here if need be. What we're going to want to do now is select all the faces. We're going to select all those faces inside there. And we're going to use the extrude. So we're going to get it nice and close. I'm going to hit Control E. Now, we've extruded all these faces. They're all extruded on top of each other, so it's kind of working a bit weird with the normals. That's not a big deal just now. What we want to do is when we do hit extrude here, we should get a little window that pops up, and we have the option to keep faces together. You can also get this in the actual tool option as well at the side here, but we're going to want to keep the faces together for this. I think the other option is in our channel editor. We have that here, our channel box. I'm going to switch that off, so I can do that by clicking on the mouse and dragging to the side, just so it stays off. And what that means now is that we can extrude all of these faces independently rather than them all being together as one component, which is good. So let's get it nice and close, and let's pull this down on our scale, and then let's go in as well. Because these aren't perfect squares, we just want to kind of eyeball it the best we can, that we want this gap here to be the same as this gap there. So something like that looks okay. We also don't want to extrude straight away because we do want to add another level to this. So let's just, on this blue arrow here, pull in ever so slightly. And we can see that we've started to get a nice little bend to those inside there. And then we can hit Control E again. Now it doesn't matter about keeping the faces together because they're not touching anymore. And we're just going to pull those in. Something like that looks okay. And then what we can do is we can just hit delete. So now we have our nice mesh inside here. And then before, when we said about how we had 6 sides of everything, that's not a big deal. We can see that inside here it's created all those extra edges for us, so that's fine. So that's looking good. So now what we want to do is we want to think about putting this actually in. So again, I'm going to duplicate this and pull it just over to the side here. And then with the one that we actually have, we can see that that is going to sit inside there quite nicely, which is good. Now we have a lot of options for how we can deform this. I'm looking at the references that I have, and it looks like it's got an ever such a slight, I don't know if it's a curve or if it comes to a point in this center section. So let's grab our vertices here and let's try and be fairly uniform, and I'm gonna grab that first block. Let's think, maybe let's actually move it along. I'm going to move it along so that we have some actual edges in the center here. And then that should allow me to grab like this central portion here. And what we could do is we can hit B on the keyboard, and that's going to allow us to do a soft selection. So we see as I grab this and pull this out, it's actually starting to curve the more that we move it. In my tool settings, in the top corner here, we've got a soft selection option, and this is going to allow us to adjust the fall off radius. So we can see that when things are yellow, it means they're going to move far, and when things are orange, it means they're not going to move very far. So we can see that reducing that, we've got a slightly sharper curve to that. So I don't think we want to move too much. Let's see, a fallout radius of 0.9. Your radius might be a little bit different. So we can maybe pull that out there. Just something like that. So it's got ever such a slight curve to it. Something like that. It's looking pretty good. Let's see on the references again. We can see that it is, still quite a distance behind here on my references. So it looks like that's sitting pretty good. Maybe just in a little bit more. Now my fall off here is 0.93. If you're working at different scales inside your Maya, it might be slightly less, but I've got it here so that the very end isn't actually part of what we have, so that's fine. Now what we could do is, let's hit Ctrl D. It looks like that same curvature is quite nice for what we have down here in our lower portion. So we can bring that down there too. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now what we want to do is we just want to tidy this up. So we're going to switch to our faces here. I'm going to hit B again on the keyboard, B for Bravo, just to get rid of that soft selection. We don't need that anymore. And what we want to do is we want to trim it on the edges here. So we don't want it to be protruding through the headlights. So let's grab all of these here that have fallen within there. See, let's take that one there, and then we can take the edges here. Let's actually go one less just in case. I don't want to take too much because we don't need to add it back in later. So let's do something like that. It does look like we've got a little bit more geometry to add down here, so we'll maybe think about that before taking any more. And then on the other side, we're just going to do the same. Let's go grab these two. And again, I'm not going to take all the way because we will see what geometry we're going to add inside there first. So take that. So you can see now we've got a nice little bit of a grill inside there, which is looking quite nice. And then down here, I think we could probably just trim what we already have, and then we can adjust what's already there in order to fit, because it does look like we do have a slight difference in here to the actual model, which we'll fix at some point. So let's, for now, let's jump back into our front view here, and oops, I'm just going to select what's kind of popping through. All that excess there, and then on this side we'll do the same. Okay. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So that excess that we kind of have on that side there, it looks like there is another piece to this. So what we could actually do is let's just duplicate what we have here with our headlight surround, and let's get rid of everything around here. Let's get rid of everything up top here too. And let's drop, let's actually see first. So let's move this back. Okay. So we could probably, let's just get rid of that at the top. And I'm just going to reform this ever so slightly, because what it is we have like an extra layer within here. Just going to delete all that rear portion as well, so we just have this front section, just to make it quicker and easier. And it looks like it's a bit thinner than the headlight surround, so let's just take a little bit of width off of this, and we also want to give it a little bit more space. Okay. So just something like that. And then I'm just going to grab all those, hit Control E, and let's take that in. We'll go just as wide as the actual grill itself. And now what we should be able to do is let's ditch anything that kind of interferes on this side. Okay. and I'm going to insert some edge loops here. I'm going to put those inside there because that will allow us again to remove those portions without affecting what we have down here. You can do the same up here too. Like so. And then let's maybe just bring this out a little bit there. So we see now that that's kind of coming up to that point on this side here. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Let's see. Let's flip this to the other side. So I'm going to hold D, Control D, Control G, and then on X I'm going to hit -1 in that channel box. So that means now we can come over here and we can do the same. So we can delete anything that's sticking through a little bit too much. Let's grab our insert edge loop and drop on here. That's fine. We'll drop here and here, just like we did on the other side. Delete those and delete that. So that's looking good. And then one last thing is let's just add our darker color to this as well. So I'm going to select the two options that I have here and just going to assign that darker material. So we can see now inside here that we've got our nice looking grille that intersects with the surrounds for our headlight as well. Alright guys, cool. So I think we'll leave that here. In the next episode we'll do, as I spoke about before, we'll start with the surround for the windows, and we'll probably work our way down, adding a few more details down the side, then onto the rear, and then once those details are nailed we'll start to actually slice up the panels and then think about getting this thing smoothed out. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more as well, and I will see you in the next one.